Hey there, everybody. We're going to spend a little while, a few parts here, making a little clone of a Defender type 2D side-scrolling type game. Put some power ups, some little features to it, and add a little user interface, some music, and going to kind of merge 2D, 3D kind of stuff because I have the capability of just merging that stuff however I want, really. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and set this up as a 2D project. I'm going to put it on my desktop because I like to put my projects on my desktop so that way it's easy for me to move to my home PC or whatever. So I'm going to call this my Defender clone. I'll name the project that for right now. Go ahead and create my project, and while that's doing, I'm going to start up something here inside Photoshop, do some design concepts here before I get too far ahead of myself. So let me get myself a, oops, right there, 768. Okay, there we go. So I can use this to kind of sketch out some basic things. So in this part, what we're going to do is we're just going to get our player moving. So our player is going to be able to move and stand on screen. That's all we're going to do in this part. So let's see. Let's go ahead and kind of get this all laid out the way that I want. You know what, that's fine the way that is right there. I'm going to go to my assets. Well, actually, I'm going to bring in Playmaker. So let me bring Playmaker in and kind of get that going in the background. Alright, come up there. Let's install it. Yep. Let's install it. Yep. Okay, so that's going to go for a minute. Okay, so the way that I'm going to want this to work is my player is going to be able to move, but they've got to stay within the screen. Okay, so if I were to, I'm going to jump. Okay, this is my screen, right? There we go. That's my screen. And this is my player. So they can go this way, this way, this way, and this way. But the catch is they cannot, oops, wrong button. They cannot, nope, they cannot go past this point. I'll call that Y. I'll call that positive Y. And they can't go past this point. Call that negative Y. They can't go past this point here. Call that negative X. And call this a positive X. So I have some X where they can't go past the negative version or the positive version of it, and some Y where they can't go past the positive or negative version. And that is going to then allow me to keep the player constrained to the visible area of my game. Basically keep them on the screen. Okay, so with that, let's take a look then, and we'll go ahead and let's see here. We're just doing okay. Let's do a new layer, and let's go ahead and let's fill this layer. I always forget it's Shift F5. I don't know why I forget that white. There we go. Okay, so let's design this a little bit. So we're going to have my player. Come on. My player is not moving. Okay, not moving. There we go. Then over here, I'm going to have another state which will check my position. And then I will have another state right down here which will move player a little bit. Okay. So there's my basic state. So now I just have to connect them. So not moving is going to go over here to check my position when move key is pressed. Okay, so that's going to cause me to come over here. What's going to cause me to go from checking my position to actually moving the player, oops, dang it, is going to be player on screen. Okay, and I know my writing is absolutely terrible, but that's fine. You kind of get the idea of some design stuff. Okay, but right here is player at edge of screen. Okay, so if the player is at the edge of the screen when we check our position, it kicks back to not moving. You're not going to allow them to move. Okay, and then down here, after we've moved just a little bit, once we've moved just a little bit, we're finished, we go back up there to not moving. So there's the basic layout. Now this is going to move one direction, and I just kind of duplicate this for other directions. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So let me move this over here. Okay, looks like we're ready to go here. So what I'm going to need next is going to be a player object out here or something like that. So I'm going to go to my asset store and see if I can find something for free in here that will do what I want it to do. Come on. There we go. Put you over there. Okay, I'm going to do space. And I only want to look at free stuff. And let's see here. This guy, free spaceships by 3D. It's 3D models by PM Assets. Let's grab this. It's got two. I'll use like this one as my player and this one as the bad guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and download this and import it into our project here. Okay, we're off and running. So in our project, we have this spaceships right down here. Ship 1. So if I bring ship 1 out here, there is my current spaceship. So let's go ahead and start tweaking some stuff here. Now, one of the first things I'm going to do is actually get my user layout here the way that I actually want to use it. One column. Yeah, I should probably note that this series is really not intended to be a introduction to Unity. I mean, it kind of is, but I'm working under the assumption that you know the basics of how to use Unity. You're basically here to say, okay, so I kind of know how to use Unity. What do I do? How do I make a game? Or, how do I use Playmaker and whatnot? So there's going to be some things I do that aren't going to have much explanation. Okay, so there's my ship out there. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Let's go. I'm going to add a light to this because I feel like it. And light, I don't know why light was eluding me. So now I can see my ship better. And let's go to a 3D here. And what I want to do is just kind of move my light out of the way so it never gets in my way again, and change my angles up here to 0, 0, like so. Let's go back to our 2D view. There we go. There's my ship. Nice. So let's select our ship. I'm going to go ahead and rename this. I'm going to call it player ship. I'm going to go ahead and tag it as player so that way I know it's the player. And let's do some working with this guy. So I want to rotate you. You know what? Let's just put everything bang. Well, no, let's leave you at 90. Okay, put you at 90, and then I'm going to want you at looks like 270. All right, looks pretty good. And I'm going to go with a 0, 0, 0 on my XYZ. So I'm right there in the middle, and then I'm going to go ahead and scale this guy down some. Boom, 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 boom. You know what? I'm just going to use these. Oops, X isn't helping me any. Control Z. Let's see here. Scale on my Y. Okay. Let me move this a little bit here so that I can kind of see. There we go. All right, let's scale it down. Keep going. 0.09 might be pretty cool. So let's go 0.09, 0.09, 0.09. There's my ship at the moment. Next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and get my screen, my resolution set up so that, see this camera thing right there? See how this, oh, actually it is set up. It's free aspect is what it should have been by default, so you can see how that changes. So I want to go ahead and kind of set this up for a resolution that I'm going to want to use. So I'm going to go with a, let's see, I'm going to delete that one. Horizontal scroller, what's that look like? I could use that one. Okay, yeah, I'm going to use that one. It's a little bit bigger than I really want it to be, so let me edit this actually. And I'm going to make this like 500 instead of 600. There we go. Okay, so it fits there pretty nicely. Let's grab our player ship, put him over here, and I'm going to make him just a little bit smaller. 0.08, 0.08, 0.08. There we go. Okay, so that's going to be my player. Let's see. Let's take a look here. I want to look at this really quick. Got some materials, default material. So it's using the standard material. Oh, it's got that standard material. Let's say you and you are using the standard specular setup. Huh. I mean, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that. I'm just kind of curious, though. Because this is labeled as a diffuse, I can't help but wonder if my ship might look a little bit better if I change this to legacy shaders bumped diffuse. And I don't know that it actually looks any better or not, but probably not. Oh well, I feel better about it. Yeah, I don't think that really made any difference. So I'll put that back. Yeah, I don't see any difference there. Okay. Alright, so I've got my basic player out there. And, maybe later we'll come back to this and maybe, gloss it up or something. Let's do something like that. Okay, this looks good enough. Alright, so let's go ahead and kind of let's save our scene. I want to start there first. So I'm going to do let's create a folder down here, my project folder. I'm going to call this scenes. And then inside scenes, let's do a file, save scene as. I'm going to save this as, I'm going to call this level 1. Alright, so let's get our player moving. And so I've got my diagram of how I want it to work. So I'm going to go ahead into my player ship right here, do an add component. And what I want is not a lens flare. I want to go to Playmaker, Playmaker State Machine. And I'm going to call this State Machine move horizontal. So this is going to move my guy horizontally. Okay, so let's edit this. And I'm inside my state machine. And I know what states I want based upon what I drew out. So like I'll call this one idle. And I will have another state, add state. I will call this one check position. And then I will have another state, add state. And I will call this one move right. And I'm going to change check position to make it check right position. Yeah, right edge, actually. Let's do check right edge. Okay, now I know that I'm going to have an add transition finished. That will go back here. But I've got custom transitions inside here. So let's go to our events and create some events. So we're going to do a try move right. We're going to do a can move and a cannot move. There we go. So my try move right will be over here, add transition, try move right. We'll go there. My over here in check right edge, I'll have a can move and a cannot move. Cannot move goes back to idle, and can move comes down here to move right. Alrighty, so there we have our basic layout. So let's throw some actions in here. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with my move right. And I'm going to do an action browser. And I'm going to do a, let's call this a translate. And I'm going to translate on the y-axis using a variable that I'm going to call speed. And let's turn every frame off. Alrighty. Let's go to our idle. We're going to go action browser. We're going to do an axis event. And the axis I care about, this is my horizontal movement, so I'm going to get rid of vertical. I don't care about that. My right event, when they press the right arrow or whatever is associated with moving to the right, I'm going to do a try move right. Boing, over there. Cool. So inside my check right edge, here's what I need to do. I need to get my current position, like so. And I want to store the y position in a variable. I'm going to call this POSY, POSX. And let me double check real quick. I moved on the y down here. I'm moving horizontally. Bad. So let's go to none. I should be moving on the x. POSX. Not POSX. What am I doing? Speed. Speed. And one other thing in here. Currently this space is set to self, which means it's going to move in the positive x based upon what the object thinks positive x is. I want it to move in the positive x based on what the world thinks that is. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to world right there. And you know what? I'll leave it as self just so you can see that real quick. Okay, so I'm going to move, or I want to get my positive x position right there. And then I want to do a float compare on that. And what I'm going to compare is going to be my positive x, or my position x. And I want to compare that with, what's this edge boundary over here? 7.68, roughly. Yeah, let's call that 7.65. Okay. So here in float 2, I'm going to do a 7.65. If it is less than that, we can move. If it is greater than that, we cannot move. And if it equals that, I'm going to say you can't move. We're only going to do this once, so every frame is turned off. Okay, now down here in move right, I left my space on self. Okay, so we can see what this does. So we're going to go ahead and play this really quick. And I left one other thing out. Going to my variables over here, let's select this speed variable and put it as inspector, so that way we can basically change it. We've made it a public variable. Right there it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start this. Okay, so I press the D key, nothing happens, so let me give myself a speed. Let's say I give myself a speed of 1. Okay, so let's see here, what is going on? So I can see it doesn't seem to be doing much of anything. So let's double check what I got here. So my right event is going to be try move right, looks correct. If I am less than 7.65, I can move. If I'm equal to or greater than, I cannot move. Move right. You know what? Let's put every frame on there. Okay. Let's put our speed back to 1. Okay, so we're down in the move right, but you see we're staying in move right because every frame is checked. So that's not really helping us. So here's the question. Let me actually uncheck every frame. Let me turn this on again. Is this, let me turn every frame off. So we're kind of doing some debugging. Is this actually working? What is happening here? I'm going to increase my speed. Let's go to like a 2.5. Going to the right. Is it working? Is it moving? Is anything happening at all? Something just happened, right? Well, where'd my ship go? You know, I don't see it. Okay, let's look at what just happened. I'm going to go to a 3D view here and click the ship. X is our red axis right here, but we're on global, so let's change to local. X is the axis going in and out. You see it right here? So you see what's happening here? So that's what X is actually controlling. So that is why back here I want this space to be on world as opposed to self. Alrighty, with that in place, let's go ahead and give myself a speed of 2. And I'm going to move, and there we are. Now what I want to do is make sure that I can't move past the edge of my screen. And 2 is way too slow, I agree, and I get stuck right there, and it stops. Okay, so that's working. So moving on. So I need to, in my idle, I need a left event. Do we have a try move left? We do not. So let's make a try move left, like so. I'm going to add that into my idle right here. Add transition, try move left. Let's do a right click, add state. Check left edge, add state. And this one is going to be move left. All right, now we're just going to kind of duplicate what we just did. Try move left goes here. Add transition, can move. Add transition, cannot move. Can move comes down here, cannot move goes back. Move left, add transition. Finished goes back up here. All right. Check left edge, let's just double check, but it should be the negative version of that, negative 7.65. If I look at where I'm located at, you can see that it is negative 7.65. All right, cool. So let's go into our check left edge. Let's do an action browser. We're going to do a get POS, which is get position. I want to get my X position, stored in pos X. Action browser, float compare, like so. Put it down below here. I want to compare pos X with negative 7.65. If it is equal to, it cannot move. If it is less than, it cannot move. And if it is greater than, it can move. All right, now we want to come down here to move left. And we're going to do a translate again. And I want to move on the X at a speed like so, except my speed is currently positive, so it'll move to the right. So let's see what options we have inside here. We basically want to be able to get the negative value of our speed so that we can move to the left, right? So let's see, what do we have? We have a float multiply. I could do that. Adds multiple float variables to float variable. I could do that. Not really what I want. I could do a float variable here with a multiply. Okay, so I'm going to have to create a new float variable. So I'm going to do a set float. And let's see, set float value right there. And my float variable is going to be a new variable. And I'm going to call this one negative speed. Okay. And the value that I set it to be is going to be speed. And I only want to do this once. Now, once I've got that set, I can go to a float multiply and put that down below set float value. And I will do a negative speed times -1. Basically just inverted it. And that should move me to the left. So let's see what we got here. See if we can move right, left. Okay, what did I just break? It was working. Oh, really? Okay, let's set this speed here. I keep setting it in while it's running. There we go. All right. Okay, so I'm moving to the left, to the right, to the left. Doesn't really seem to be doing a whole heck of a lot. So, let's see if we can figure out what might be going on inside here. And you can see right here our left event, we're not using it. So even though I had this event here and connected, I'm not actually calling that event anywhere. So for my left event right here, let's do a try move left. There we go. All right. And that 3 is still slower than I want to go. And see what happened here? See it moving? So hopefully you know exactly what that problem is after it was just shown in our right movement. Basically, we're moving on self instead of world. Okay. So you can kind of see how those pieces are starting to come together there. So let's go to the right. And going to the left is not really doing what I want it to. Let's see here. Move left. Let me make my negative speed inspector because I want to see what it's doing. That's interesting. Oh, I bet I know what it is too. Inside our move left right here, I'm using speed. I want to use negative speed. There we go. Alright. Yeah, isn't it fun to watch a tutorial and have things go wrong? Yeah, actually I think you kind of learn a little bit more from fixing stuff. There we go. Goes to the left, stops, goes to the right. 3 is still too slow. Okay, so we've got our horizontal movement going, right? So I'm going to go ahead, let's increase this speed just a little bit, 5, and play this. That's better. Alright, so we're moving horizontally. So now let's make it move vertically. So I'm going to actually make a new state machine. Add component, scripts. Nope, not scripts. I don't know why I went to scripts. Add component playmaker and playmaker FSM. I'm going to call this vertical movement, just like so. Go ahead and edit it, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that we just did in the other one. So I'm going to need some events. I'm going to do a try move up, a try move down, a can move, and a cannot move. Okay, let's go to our state. That state is going to be idle. Then I'm going to have an add state. check up position, add state, move up, add state, check down position, add state, move down. Okay, so now let's start connecting these things. Add transition finished, we'll go up to here. Add transition finished, we'll go up to here. Add transition can move, goes down to move up. Add transition cannot move, goes back to idle. Add transition can move, goes to move down. And add transition cannot move, goes back to idle. Now we will do an add transition try move down, goes to check down position. And add transition try move up, goes to our check up position. Okay, so we've got all of that in place. There we go. Go ahead and come over here to our move up. Let's do an action browser. We're going to need a translate on this guy. We're going to be moving on our Y. So let's create a new variable, and I'm going to call this one speed as well. Not every frame. Okay, for our move down, I'm going to go action browser, translate. On our Y is going to be speed again, not every frame. And then I'm going to do the same two things that I just did over there. So I'm going to do a set float value is going to be a new variable. This is going to be another negative speed. And I'm going to set it equal to my speed. Action browser float multiply. Put that down here is going to be negative speed times -1. And then the speed we're moving on our y-axis will be negative speed. Okay, so we've got both of our movements in place. Let's go to our idle. Action browser will be an axis event like so. Let's see, I only care about vertical. So up will be a try move up. Down will be a try move down. There we go. So let's get what our values are going to be here. And before I forget, let's go ahead and make sure we're moving in world space, not self space. There we are. All right, so let's look at our values here. And the top edge of the screen is what? 4.6 roughly, and the bottom edge should be -4.6, and it is. Okay. So let's go into check up position. Action browser, get position, like so. We're going to get our y. We're going to do a new variable. This is going to be POSY. World, yes. Action browser, it's going to be a float compare. Put that down here. The first value is going to be POSY. It's going to be 4.65, I think I said it was. If it is equal to, it cannot move. If it is greater than, it cannot move. If it is less than, it can move. Just has to do it once. All right, let's go to our down position. Let's do an action browser. I'm going to need a float compare. I'll go ahead and throw that over there. And then I'm going to need a get position. Throw that over there. All right, so I'm going to get my y. This is going to be a POSY. Cool. Everything looks good. I'm going to look at POSY. Compare this to -4.65. If it is equal to, it cannot move. If it is less than, it can move. And if it is greater than, it cannot move. There we go. I'm sorry, I did that backwards. Cannot move if it's less than, can move if it's greater than. There we go. All right, let's see what we've got here. See how this works. Okay, so let's see what's going on with this. We are moving. Our y-axis is still up, down. Cool. We're moving world on the y at a speed. World on the y at a speed. Coming in here, we're getting our y position. And if it is greater than that, -4.65, it can move. All right, let's see here. Okay, so I'm overlooking. Oh, I know exactly what I'm overlooking. Let's see, let's see, let's see. I don't know why that keeps getting me. Variables, my speed has to be an inspector because my speed is 0. That's why it's not moving. And now, because I've got two different speeds, I can actually move at different speeds, up, down, or whatever. So I'm going to make my up, down, my vertical speed 4. My horizontal will be a 5, just to have a little twist to it. Okay, so I'm going down. There we go. I can only go so far down. I can only go so far up. I got a diagonal going on here. Okay, yeah. Okay, now one thing to note, when I let go of the key, see how it slows down to it's not moving anymore. So if we go to Edit, bring up our project settings, Input, I'm going to go to my vertical and my horizontal axis, and this gravity right here, I'm going to crank this way up, like 30,000. And basically that gravity controls how fast my input axis drops back down to its default location, its neutral spot. Okay, there we go. Now we've got some nice little diagonal movement going on. If I could plug in a gamepad here, which I could, but I'm not going to, it would move even better. All right, so yeah, we're up and going. We've got our player moving around. So next up, we're probably going to go ahead and add some actions, get him shooting. I think I'm going to give him a light speed ability where he just randomly jumps somewhere. I think they had that in like Asteroids or something. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so this is the end of part 1. Any questions? Just go ahead and ask them. I'll do my best to answer them. Any insane stupidity or better way I could have done it, feel free to point it out. Always learning new stuff. Okay, yeah, so see you guys later. Bye-bye.